What name could contain such a glory? In the cool breezes of Eden, wrought from the infant earth, one arose, the voice of his creator speaking his identity to life. Adam, man. And as heaven waited short with breath, the creator spoke yet another, Eve, mother of all the living. So it was with Abraham, named in the promise as the father of nations, Peter, the rock upon which the church would stand. The name called to life the destiny within. The name set the stage for all that was to come. And unto us a child was born. And what name could contain his glory? For he was mighty God, as the universe gasped into being, flinging rays of light from his presence to pierce the void, to shatter the shadows to a tapestry of color. And he is mighty God, shattering our darkness, revealing our light, our truth in him. He was everlasting Father when orphaned Israel needed a father's touch. When we, with grief-stricken cheeks, need the embrace of one who never leaves. When we have lost our way to dark horizons, it is our everlasting Father who lights the way home. He is Prince of Peace. When, like Elijah, we need the still small voice in the turmoil's midst. When, like David, we need the melodies of his presence to soothe our troubled minds. He is sanctuary within our trials, shepherd guiding us to still waters. And yes, he is wonderful counselor. God who gives counsel in the chaos, crafting disorder into calm and failure into beauty. He is a voice for the voiceless. He is dignity for the stateless soul. It is he who raised up a lowly shepherd to become a king. He who took the fishermen of Galilee and made them leaders of history. It is the counselor who redeems our lost years, breaking chains that have kept dreams imprisoned and joy confined. The name reaches across eternity, exclaimed by the splendors of galaxies, sung by the passions of angels, roared in heaven's fervor, exalted in creation's unfettered rejoicing. What name could contain him? What title? What sole renown? For this is our wonderful counselor. This is our mighty God. This is our everlasting Father, our Prince of Peace. What name could contain Emmanuel, God with us, Yahweh, the great I am? What name could contain the word of life, the light of the world, the King of kings, the Lord of all? We bow to the name that holds every other in its matchless worth. What name could contain such a glory? What name but Jesus? We cry Jesus. We cry holy is the name.
We are in the middle of November, which means we're very close to December, which means we're very close to Christmas, and it's gaining traction day by day. So we thought we would put a 2-week series together just before we hit Christmas at the movies, entitled Advent. This idea of Advent, maybe you know what it is, maybe you're not sure. I would love to try and paint a picture for you to give you this abstract idea of what Advent is and make it simple for you to understand and also to apply in your life. I envision it like this. Have you ever received a gift just like this? Maybe it looks like one of these ones and it's got your name on it and it looks amazing and you're trying to shake it and you're trying to see what's inside, trying to maybe take a cheeky look inside. But it says this on the front. It says, do not open until December 25th. And you know the heartbreak of that. You think you know what it is. There's a rattle to it. It's got a certain weight. You think it's that thing that you've been waiting for and asking for, but you can't touch it. It's for you, but not yet. It's got your name on it, but it says don't open until December 25th. And that's a little bit of the tension of Advent. It's for us, but just not yet. The moment is here. It's around us, but it's not yet also. So we are building up. Advent is this building up to this moment. And we're going to look at more of what this moment is. But maybe for you, when you think of Advent, you think of an Advent calendar. And when I was growing up, the only option we had was chocolate. You had the one option, it was chocolate, and you could change the design on the front, but that was it. Whereas now, some marketing geniuses jumped on board and thought, we can make anything an Advent calendar. So some smart people thought, well, why not make a Lego Advent calendar? Get a new piece of Lego every day. Or men, if you're feeling super generous this Christmas for your wife, your partner, your girlfriend, whatever it may be, this here is an Advent calendar full of beauty products. So depending on how generous you feel, you can get your spouse this. Or you can go to this end and spend $200 on this. Okay, so wife, partner, nudge your husband there. Let them know, the man in your life, that you want this side of the spectrum and not this side. Okay, and it's crazy that you can go from €2 to €200 on an Advent calendar. It's crazy. And maybe all of us have been in that moment where we've had the Advent calendar. And let's be honest, if you had an Advent calendar as a child, it took all the self-control that you had not to eat more. Like one day at a time, you had to eat this tiny little bit of chocolate, and you had to control yourself. Give me a wave if you didn't control yourself, and you just ate a few days ahead, you just kept going. Didn't matter what the date said on the calendar, you were just eating ahead already. So we all know the idea of an Advent calendar. We're counting down to Christmas. But I want to explain a little bit more about what Advent is over the next few weeks. But today we want to give you this idea that Advent is a season of anticipation, preparation, and invitation. That there is something to anticipate, there's something to prepare, and there is an invitation included in this season of Advent. Advent is when we stop to remember, what are we really celebrating at Christmas? It's a season, it's a time where we're able to slow down, to stop and ask ourselves, what are we celebrating? Is it a day? We get to celebrate that we're off work. If we're off work and we're still getting paid, that is a good reason to celebrate. Are we celebrating because we're getting a full turkey dinner and it's going to be amazing and we'll not be able to move because we've ate so much food? Also a great reason to celebrate. Another great reason to celebrate is family and friends, and everyone just seems that little bit more kind around this time of year. But is that the reason? What are we really celebrating when it comes to Christmas? Because during this Advent season, it's when we all prepare our homes for Christmas. We all try and get ready for Christmas. And maybe you have that done already. We all prepare our homes ready for Christmas. And in that, it involves many Christmas traditions. One of my traditions with Anna is that every year we go to the Christmas tree farm, pick out a tree, cut it down, and bring it home. And we get to decorate it, and it's beautiful, and it's amazing. Another one growing up that we used to do is with my previous church and with my family. We used to go carol singing every Christmas Eve around the community where we were at and to some of the people who called our church home. And we did that every single Christmas Eve. And then we came home and did our whole tradition of getting your pajamas and different things like that. Now it's evolved into every Christmas Eve we get our traditional Indian meal. We get our Indian takeaway every Christmas Eve, and it's become one of my favorite traditions that we do. But maybe you have a tradition as well. As you prepare your home, you play a certain soundtrack, you watch a certain movie, you eat a certain food, you buy a certain gift, you open it here, you do something there. We all have different traditions that are real and true to us. But as we prepare for Christmas, we see family, we buy gifts, we put up decorations, and we all attend parties. We all somewhat do all of these things. But what makes us different is that we all prepare differently. So I'm going to, hopefully this doesn't get us into any arguments. Don't want to split the church, don't want to get people angry at us. But I'm going to ask what side of the fence you sit on when it comes to preparing for Christmas. Okay, so when it comes to decorations, are you put your Christmas decorations up in December, or before December? Give me a wave if you are in December, that you wait until the calendar says December and you wait. Okay. Give me a wave if you're more joyful and you put it up before December. There we go. They're my people. They're the party people. That we take the joy of Christmas and just elongate it. Why just keep it to December? Let's just spread it out. Okay, Christmas in October, everyone. Yes? Come on, my Christmas people. Okay, next one is for your pajamas. Do you have matching pajamas or you don't buy any? Now this, I'm not telling you, I'm not wanting to know if you don't wear any pajamas. Okay, that's not what I'm asking. Give me a wave if you are a matching Christmas pajama type of family and you love to get the photos. Oh, there's quite a lot. Okay, that's good. Marketing again, they get you all so you have to wear the same pair. What I don't like about Christmas pajamas, okay, if I can be honest, is you wear them for Christmas and that's it. They're just a few days, few weeks for Christmas and that's it. So that's why we should start Christmas pajamas in October, so you get more months out of your pajamas. I've been thinking about this. Okay, when it comes to buying presents, do you buy your presents before December or are you a Christmas Eve type of person? Give me a wave if you're the Christmas Eve type. You're last minute, you're waiting until everything is stressful. Yous are mental. Like, yous are, I don't know what type of world you live in, but there's a day in November, okay, the month before, in November, called Black Friday. There's discounts, there's offers, there's sales. It's a great time to buy. I'm one of those guys that Black Friday, give me your list, I'll get it on Amazon. Everything's there before December. It's peaceful, it's great. So even in these three examples, all of us prepare in different ways. Some of us get the matching pajamas and get the picture. Some of us love Christmas so much. We've got the Christmas tree up and it's amazing. And what I love about church news this week is that it features a Christmas tree and I just smile. It's wonderful. But Christmas has a way of amplifying whatever season of life we're already in. So that as we prepare, some people feel indifferent. Some people don't want to elongate that Christmas. Just leave it for where it's at. Some people just want to have Christmas every day. But this weird thing about Christmas is that it amplifies whatever season of life we're going through. So if life is good, it feels even better. It's amazing. It's beautiful. It's magical. But if life is hard, then it just feels difficult. That whatever stage and season of life we're going through, it's just amplified through Christmas time. And in all that, it's easy to lose sight of the deeper invitation of Christmas. Through all the noise and through all the busyness, we can lose sight of what Christmas truly means. Because Christmas isn't just a day to celebrate, but it's a divine invitation. An invitation to me, an invitation to you, an invitation to those that have faith, an invitation to those that don't have faith to welcome Jesus into your life. And maybe you're here and you're not a Christ follower, and for you, Christmas is just the day that the family come around, you eat loads of food, you're off work and you get to celebrate, and it's great. But I want to let you know today that there is an invitation to you wrapped inside this Advent season. Because Christmas isn't just about inviting others to our homes. It's about God inviting us into his presence, and it's us inviting him into our celebration. That is the invite of Advent, that Jesus and God invites us to him, and we should in return invite him into our celebrations. So each of us, we prepare our homes, but how do we prepare our hearts? How do we get ourselves ready for Christmas? Because it's possible to be ready for Christmas Day, but yet totally unprepared for Christmas itself. That if our hearts aren't ready, if our lives aren't ready, well then we're going to be totally unprepared for Christmas, but yet we can be ready for the gifts, the turkey, the ham, everything that's on Christmas Day, but yet be unprepared for Christmas. So the question I want to answer today is, how do we prepare for Christmas? How do we prepare our hearts ready for Christmas? And we're going to read a few passages today. But as we look at this first passage, it reminds us that God's people have been preparing for Christmas for a long time. Not weeks, not months, but centuries. They have been waiting for this moment. And we're going to read a verse in Isaiah 7:14. And Isaiah is in this book, is in the Old Testament. Isaiah is a prophet. A prophet is a messenger of God, someone who hears from God and speaks to the people the message that God has for the people. And in this verse contains a prophecy. And maybe you've heard of this term prophecy, maybe you've not. Let me explain it to you so you have an understanding of what a prophecy is. So prophecy is a message from God that reveals his will or his future actions. It's not guesswork or prediction. It is God speaking with purpose so that his people can trust him and recognize his work when it happens. So Isaiah is going to give the people a prophecy, something that's going to happen in the future, so that when it happens, we can recognize that it is God that did it. So Isaiah, here is the prophecy that he gives in Isaiah 7:14. He says, the virgin will conceive and give birth to a son, and he will be called Emmanuel. So maybe the people at the time weren't really sure, what is that going to look like? How can a virgin give birth? What does all this mean to us? This word Emmanuel, this will be his name, means God with us. So they're waiting for this promise of God being with them. And this name is not just a name, it's a declaration of who God is and what he's like. This isn't just another nickname that he got because he pronounced something wrong or he has a certain job. Like some of us just grab different nicknames in life. But this isn't just another nickname, it's a declaration of who he is. And that one promise carried hope for generations. That promise, that the idea that one day God himself would come to be with us. That one day we would experience Emmanuel. And they couldn't wrap their heads around what this would look like. What would it look like for God to be with us? For God to take on flesh? For God to be with me? In my mess? In my hurt? In my life? What would it look like for God to be with us? And to see the fulfillment of this prophecy, we need to wait 700 years. We don't have the patience to wait for the next day to eat that other Advent chocolate. Never mind waiting 700 years. God's people were waiting 700 years for this promise of hope that God would be with them. So we fast forward to this moment found in Matthew's gospel. So Matthew was one of the disciples that followed Jesus, and he wrote a letter in the New Testament. And we read this in Matthew 1:22 and 23. So he says, all this took place. So if you want to know what all this took place, if you want to know what took place, read the beginning of Matthew 1. It says, this took place to fulfill what the Lord had said through the prophet. This prophet was Isaiah, the messenger from God giving the message. So it was fulfilled because the prophet said, the virgin will conceive and give birth to a son, and they will call him Emmanuel, which means God with us. So Matthew right now this moment has just happened. He's declaring this moment. And after centuries of waiting, we see that the promise has arrived. That in this very moment where God takes on flesh, when Jesus is born, the promise arrives. And it's not wrapped in a nice bow, it's not wrapped in a nice gift bag, but it's wrapped in swaddling cloth. If you know the story of the Nativity, he was born in a manger, wrapped in these cloths, not in a penthouse suite, not in a hospital, not in this perfect place, but in a manger with swaddling cloth. The promise has arrived. The God who seemed distant became present. The creator of the heavens and the earth, the person that created everything, stepped into the very thing that he created. In this one moment when Jesus was born, the distant became present. The creator stepped into his creation. And another gospel, John, who was a disciple and wrote, he put it in a more poetic way. He said this, he says, the Word became flesh and made his dwelling among us. The Word, Jesus, became flesh, became human, had skin, made his dwelling among us. He came from heaven to earth to be with us. And if you're a Bible nerd and you love some theology, this idea of Jesus coming to earth and becoming a human, we have a word for it. It's called the incarnation, which simply means embodied in flesh or taking on flesh. So this idea of God taking on flesh, we use this word incarnation. It's this idea that God's presence is with us and God becoming one of us. Just like me, just like you, this idea of the incarnation is simply God's presence with us, God becoming one of us. And Pastor Timothy Keller put it this way, because why would you care about the incarnation? Why would you care that God has become a man? Well, this is how he puts it. He says, Christmas means that through the grace of God and the incarnation, so Jesus becoming man, peace with God is now available. And if you make peace with God, then you can go out and make peace with everyone else. That's why this thing is important. This is why the incarnation is important to us. You might not fully understand and grasp what it means for God to become man, but because he did so, we can receive peace. And as we receive peace, we can give away peace. So maybe you're here today and you're lacking peace. You're struggling. Life is difficult. It's hard. You're trying to fill your life with different things, different rules, different titles, in the hope that something would be complete in your life. But yet, nothing seems to be in alignment. Nothing seems to fill the hole that you have. But through Christmas, through the gift of God, through the incarnation, peace is available. We've seen in the video, he is called the Prince of Peace. He can offer you peace today. And as Christ followers, as we've already received this peace, it is our role then that we can make peace with everyone else, to live out the characteristics of Jesus. And maybe we need to forgive someone this Christmas. Maybe we need to show peace in our homes and bring people together this Christmas. As we have experienced it, we need to give it away also. And what I love about Jesus, this incarnation, is so important because Jesus, God could have just sent the message. Could have sent up a thumbs up emoji in the cloud saying like, I've got you, like you're all good. Sent a plane to be like, guys, don't worry, I'm close, I'm with you. But he didn't just send a message. He moved in next door. He dwelt among us, and his presence promises us peace. This isn't just a one-off like, hey, I'm good, got it, you've got it, right, okay, I'll see you later. But he actually dwelt with us, was with us, became like us. And in doing so, he proved that he is reliable, he is relatable, and he is remarkable. By coming to earth, he has proved himself to us, proved himself reliable, proved himself relatable, proved himself remarkable. We see that he proved himself reliable because God keeps his promises. Maybe you know someone in your life that doesn't keep promises, that you tell them, hey, don't tell anyone, and then you find out everybody knows about it. Whereas God keeps his promises. Whatever God has promised to you, he will fulfill. And you may not know this, but as Jesus was born, over 300 prophecies were fulfilled in Jesus' coming. Not just Isaiah 7:14, and yes, that was fulfilled, but there was over 300 prophecies fulfilled. This isn't a coincidence. This isn't that was coincidence and that happened because of this. And we can't explain it away because it's not coincidence. It's consistency. Time and time and time again, God proves himself reliable. It's proof that when God says he will do something, he will. And maybe you're feeling discouraged today. Maybe you're feeling like God hasn't answered you. Maybe you're feeling like God has given you a promise and yet you haven't seen it fulfilled. I want to encourage you today that if God says he will do something, he will do it. So you might be in the waiting for something today. Maybe you're waiting for healing. Maybe you're waiting for peace. You're waiting for direction. God has the answer for you. God will answer you. And I pray that as he gives you this healing, his peace, and his direction, that you would be reminded that he is reliable. Because Advent reminds us, if God fulfilled that promise, if God fulfilled the promise that he would be here on earth, then he can fulfill the promise that he's given you. He can fulfill the promise that he will be with you wherever you go. Fulfill the promise that he will work all things together for the good for those who love him. He is reliable. And maybe you feel like he is not reliable because the church hasn't been reliable. Maybe your story is a church has let you down. People have let you down. How could I trust God if the church has let me down? And if that's your experience, I want to apologize that people, humans, have let you down. But I want to let you know today, God will never let you down. Because Christmas proves that you can rely on God even when he seems silent. When you feel like he's distant, when you feel like he's not talking, you can rely on him even when you think he's silent. He has proved himself to be reliable. He's also proved himself to be relatable because God understands our humanity. St. Augustine put it this way: man's maker was made man, that he, the ruler of the stars, might nurse at his mother's breast. that the bread might hunger, the fountain thirst, the light sleep, and the way be tired on its journey. God, Jesus in flesh, was like us. He became man. That even though he's the ruler of the stars, he is the bread of life. He hungered like us. Even though he's the fountain of life, he still thirsted. Even though he was the light, he still slept. And even though he was the way, he was still tired. Because Jesus felt what you feel. The feelings and the emotions that you have, Jesus felt them too. He was tired, he was hungry, he was tempted, misunderstood, and even heartbroken. And like us, he cried at graves, he laughed with friends, and he celebrated at weddings. He was just like us. And he didn't just come above humanity, he came into it. He didn't just hover above it and kept his distance from us, but he came into it. And that means for me and you that we never have to say, God, you wouldn't understand. Because Jesus felt what we feel. That hurt, that pain, that betrayal. Jesus has felt it too. Having a mother and a father, having friends, going to party, like Jesus has felt what you feel. Emmanuel means you're never alone in what you're going through. So whatever season you're in, whether it's a great season or whether it's the worst season of your life, Emmanuel means that you're never alone. And sometimes it's hard to remember that. When you're in it, when you're in the thick of it, it's hard to remember sometimes that he promises that he'll never leave us, that he'll always be with us. So I pray that if you are in that season, that you would hear me clearly today, that God will never leave you. But he's also proved himself remarkable, that God's love deserves our attention. At Christmas time, people are generous and people are more kind than they usually would be. And some people do some remarkable things at Christmas, all because of the generosity of the season. And it's remarkable what people do, but I believe that we should see God's love as remarkable, that the things that he has done for us are remarkable. That God from above came below, that he traded a crown for a cradle, having everything and now nothing, choosing humans over heaven. Like, that is remarkable, that God was from heaven in this perfection with everything that he needed, all the power and authority, and yet chose us. Chose to be with us in Ireland. Some of us don't get the choice. He got the choice to come to heaven to be with us. Swapping everything, all power and dominion in heaven above, to come and be a baby in a manger. To be the King of Kings, to be the Lord of everything, and yet find himself in a cradle. That is remarkable. We celebrate how people sacrifice themselves for others, and yet we forget about the remarkable love of God, sending his son Jesus to earth to be like us. And this word remarkable means it's worthy of our attention. And as we think about what Jesus done by coming to earth to be like us, it should cause us to stop. It should cause us to wonder. It should cause us to worship. Christ follower, our response this Christmas should be worship. When we remind ourselves of the remarkable love of God, that he decided to send his son as this perfect gift to us, our response should be worship. And if you're not a Christ follower, I want to encourage you to stop and to wonder. To really take some time this week and just to think about the love that God has for you. Would your friends do this sort of thing for you? Would your parents show you this amount of love? Who in this world would ever show you the amount of love that God has shown you? So why not this Advent season to stop and to wonder? And I pray that once you experience God, that once he changes your life, well, then you'd have no other option but to worship. To say thank you to him for how he has changed your life and turned it around. Normally at Christmas we marvel at gifts under a tree, but the greatest gift hung on a tree. That Christmas reminds us that Jesus came not just to be born, but to also die. And that means that we would receive life. That this gift that we normally look at, we're reminded that he hung on a tree. That his death was to bring us life. That his life at Christmas time led to his death, which led to our life. And the most remarkable part of Christmas isn't that God came to us, but it's that he still does. He still steps into our mess. He still steps into the struggle. He still steps into the life that we're trying to create for ourselves and try and juggle everything that is going on. And in our hurt and in our pain, God still steps in. So if you need help this Christmas time, God is willing to step in. Are you willing to let him come into your life? So the question we're answering today is, so how do we prepare our hearts for Christmas? I want to give you 3 practical ways on how we can prepare for Christmas. The first thing we do is we anticipate. This word anticipate means to think about what's coming, to think about this Christmas coming. When you anticipate, you lift your eyes from the noise around you and you focus on God who keeps his word. We see that God keeps his word. He's reliable. We see from Isaiah to Matthew how God kept his word. But there's a lot of noise at Christmas. There's a lot of lights. There's a lot of color. There's a lot of busyness. There's a lot of parties. There's a lot of people. And the noise of Christmas can get to us. But as we anticipate, we raise our eyes above it. We see what Christmas really means. And in doing so, we remove ourselves from the noise and we focus on God who keeps his word. Because anticipation creates space for hope to rise again. Maybe you're here and you're hopeless. Maybe you're here and you're worried about Christmas. How am I going to provide? How am I going to get through this season? And it's full of doubt and worry and stress. But as we anticipate, it creates space for hope to rise. Christmas isn't supposed to be a time of stress and worry and all these different emotions. But Christmas time is supposed to be a time where we receive hope. We're reminded of the gift that we have found in Jesus. It's choosing to believe that God has something to say and something to give as we approach Christmas. Do you believe that God has something to say? Do we think that God would want to speak to us? That he would want to give us something? As we anticipate, we're believing God wants to say something to us this Advent season. And to paint a picture of what it looks like to anticipate, have you ever seen this play out in a airport? We see people waiting on their guest. We see people waiting on the person that they're waiting for. And they know that the person that's on their sheet is going to come through that door. And as they come through the door, they're going to greet them. So they're waiting, and they're waiting, and they're waiting. And they wait until the person comes. And in the waiting, they don't lose hope because they know that person is going to be there. They know the person is going to come through those gates. So they don't wander off. They don't walk away. They don't find someone else to look after. But in the busyness of everyone coming through that door, all they are doing is waiting on that one person. In the hustle and the bustle and everything else that's going on, they're waiting for one person. They're watching for the person whose name is on their card. So as we are in Advent, we watch for God. And as we watch for God, we'll expect him to arrive. He will walk through those airport gates. He will walk into your life. He will arrive into your life if you expect him to. If you're open and willing to receive God, he will come into your life. So as we anticipate, what are some practical things that we can do to anticipate this Advent season? There's going to be a QR code on the screen. So everyone take your phone out and scan this QR code. As you scan this QR code, it's going to take you to the YouVersion Bible app. And on the YouVersion Bible app, we've selected a Bible plan that you can read over Advent. That it's 6 days. It will give you an overview of what Advent is, and it will take you through some Bible passages and take you on that journey. And this can only be the start. This will take you through the next 6 days. And then as you read that, why not choose another one? Why not in your small groups? Why not in your family? Why not in your relationships? Read this together and go through this Bible plan. Also, what you can do this Advent season that I've been doing over the last few years is there's another gospel in the New Testament called Luke. And Luke was a man who collected all these stories about Jesus and wrote them together, put them in a book, and we now have it as the book of Luke. And it has 24 chapters. So from December 1st to December 24th, I read one chapter of Luke each day. So as we build up from Jesus' life, the death, the resurrection, you see the whole story of Jesus over the days leading up to Christmas. So maybe that's a tradition that you can take on, that you read the book of Luke. You can maybe light a candle and thank God for his goodness and for his faithfulness. And maybe you can expect God to speak this season, to ask him to just say and pray this simple prayer: God, speak to me. As we anticipate, as we want to hear from God, we ask him that he would speak to us this season. So I'd love for you to join one of those Bible plans, read through the book of Luke as you anticipate and look forward to Christmas. And I want to encourage you to live as if God intends to meet with you, because he does. Live like God wants to speak to you. Live as though God wants to work in your life, because he does. Be open to hearing and living and working through him. Second thing we can do is to prepare. To prepare simply means to do something intentionally. So preparation is what happens when belief turns into action. That yes, you may believe the nativity story. You may believe that Jesus came to earth. And you may believe that you know Jesus. But if that doesn't transform your life, well then it's just news. It becomes good news when it transforms your life. It becomes good when you see the change in you. But if you just leave it and don't apply it to your life, well then there's no power. God can step in and do whatever he needs to do in your life, but yet we reject it. We push it to the side. We focus on other things at Christmas. But as we prepare, we take what we believe and put it into action. As Christ followers, we're called to put our faith into action. Because preparation isn't just logistics. It's not just do's and don'ts and trying to figure things out, but it's our posture. What posture are you going to take this Christmas? It's more than organizing a calendar and tidying the house. It's more than logistics. It's about clearing away whatever is cluttering the heart. What's going on in your heart? Is there hurt? Is there pain? Is there memories from past Christmases that are holding you back? We can take this Advent season to prepare by getting rid of the clutter that's in our hearts. And we can ask ourselves the question, what needs surrendered so that Christ can take central place again? What do we need to get rid of so that Christ would be the center of our Christmas? And this is for Christ followers and not Christ followers. As Christ followers, we have this invitation every year to reinvite Jesus back into our Christmas, because we too can so easily forget about him. We too can so easily be sidetracked. We too can so easily forget about the reason for the season. So what do we need to surrender? And if you're not a Christ follower, maybe for the first time, what do you need to give up and surrender so that Christ would take central place, maybe for the first time? Like Christmas has maybe revolved around your traditions, your family, your friends, your gifts. But what would it look like if you surrendered all that and put Christ as the center place of your Christmas? When you prepare inwardly, you create room for God to move. God wants to move and work in your life. So as we prepare inwardly, as we get rid of the clutter, it gives God space to move in our lives. As we prepare for Christmas, as maybe we have people round to our house. If you have your friends coming round to your house, like if they're close friends, you don't mind that the kids' toys are out. You don't mind that there's some dirty dishes in the sink. You don't mind that everything isn't prim and proper. But when the mother comes, you need to make sure everything is spick and span. Never mind if the mother-in-law is coming round. Then we need to take things to a whole nother level. Everything needs to be clean. We need to make sure that there's no dust above the doors. We need to make sure everything is pristine for them coming, because they have a high expectation for their house, and then as their children, we have that placed on us as well. So as we prepare inwardly, we create room, but as we do so in our houses, we prepare differently for who's coming. If it's a friend, we're like, okay, I'll leave that things, I'll let that slip. But when our mother or mother-in-law's coming, we prepare like there's no tomorrow, like everything has to be in line and perfect. Because who is coming matters. It matters who's coming to your house. If it's a friend, you're like, okay, they can deal with the mess. But if a VIP is coming, you see things differently. You're like, oh, I'll lift that. If my mum's coming, she'll complain that the dishes aren't shiny and this, that, and the other. And because it matters who's coming. So as we recognize the significance of Christ, we begin to prepare our inner lives. If we can see and recognize the significance of Christ, it should feel like our mothers are coming to our house. We need to prepare. We need to get ready. I need to clear out and make room for God who is coming. And to make it practical, choose one intentional act of preparation this week. Maybe it's to forgive someone. Maybe there's some clutter in your life and you need to forgive someone today. Maybe it's to slow down. Your calendar's full. There's no time to fit God into your Advent. Maybe you need to serve someone. Maybe you've decided to join a team here at Lighthouse, or maybe it's just to be kind and to be generous this season. Or maybe it's to create margin, to create space in your life, to sit down every night and to read one chapter of the Gospel of Luke. And even though everything's busy, even though you've got a long list of to-dos, why not create some margin in your life? So we anticipate, we prepare, but we also invite. We welcome Jesus in. We welcome Jesus into our home, into our schedule, into our table, and into our hearts. And again, this is both for Christ follower and non-Christ follower. As Christ followers, we need to do this daily. It's a daily surrender. We need to decide to follow Jesus every day. Every Christmas that comes around, we need to decide to put him at the center of our Christmas. But if you're not a Christ follower, maybe this is an invite to you for the first time. That as we approach Christmas, as we are in this Advent season, would you invite Jesus into your home, to your life, to your table, to your heart? Would you invite him into your life? Because as you invite him into your life will never be the same. And as we experience Jesus in our lives, we can invite others to experience him too. That as we have experienced everything that God has for us, we can give it away. Whether it's through a kind word, maybe an open seat to invite them round, to spend time. Maybe it's an invitation to church. This is how we extend God's goodness that we have received onto other people. Because the invitation of Christmas is both to receive and to extend. To receive and to extend. We receive his presence and we share it with others. So I pray that you will experience and receive his presence for you. That as you receive his presence, that you would share it with others. And who is that person that you can share it with? As you receive, we're also called to share. Maybe today you have friends and family that don't know Jesus. Or you're here today and you don't know him. And that you've been invited to a church service. But today, you may not know this, but church services don't change your life. Being in the Odeon cinema doesn't change your life. The only thing that can change your life is the person of Jesus. So as we invite people to a service, we know that it's not the service that does the life change, it's Jesus. So we pray that as you give out your invites, as you hand them over to that person, that yes, they would come to a service, but in that service, they would experience Jesus. As they experience Jesus, they would experience life change. They would receive hope. They would have peace. And they would have comfort in their life that they've never felt before, all because of an invitation. Because you know invitations can change a life. But can you imagine if we prepared for Christmas differently? What would it look like if we prepared for Christmas differently this year? Like Samantha, we can all experience Jesus this Christmas. Whether you're a Christ follower or not, we're all invited to experience Emmanuel, God with us. We're also invited to participate in someone else's story this Christmas. That we can step in with an invitation and you never know what's on the other side of that invitation. That there's many stories here of how someone was invited to church and God stepped in. God just didn't come at Christmas, but he came into their life when they needed it. In that moment to provide hope, help, and healing. Imagine if we were able to participate in someone else's story. If we prepared differently, imagine that every light that we see at Christmas would remind us of the light of the world that has come. Imagine that every wrapped gift pointed to the gift of God's grace in our life. Let every invite that we give this season is a reflection of God's invitation to us. So this Christmas, let's be a people that doesn't just celebrate his coming, but invite him to come again into our hearts, into our homes, into our relationships, into our worries, and into our worship. It's a daily ask. Lord, would you come into my life? Would you step into and make a way? And this is Advent simply. It's God inviting us to experience his presence. And it's us inviting him into every part of our celebration. And I want to encourage you with this, that Emmanuel is reliable. He's relatable. He's remarkable. He is God with us. He is God in us. And he can be God through us. So I want to invite you to stand. And as we stand, we're going to go into a moment of reflection. We're going to have a song. And as we sing, I would love for you to think and consider, to stop and wonder, what would it look like if I put Christ in the center of my Christmas? What would it look like if I got to experience Emmanuel, God with me, God in me, and God through me this Advent season? But as I experience, as you experience, what would it look like for others to experience God with them, God in them, and God through them? Let's pray.